both work for Anishi, and we both are working along with two other members. We are working on a project called City and Sexuality. So I'll tell you briefly about our study and then we go on to our presentation. The name of our presentation for today is City as a New Home, Journeys of Migrant Women. We looked at women migrating to the city of Hyderabad on their own, not for marriage or with their family, but more for education. The intention of our project was to gain an understanding of how urbanization and migration, migrating to metropolitan spaces and employment affect the lives of women. So for our study, we mostly focused on aspirational migration, and so we have limited our choice, the scope of our study to those who exercise some amount of choice in the migration. We have interviewed about 50 women who come from various, who sort of do various jobs or are employed differently or are students. Some of them are mall workers, some of them are nurses, some of them are corporate employees, work in government offices. Some of them are also like students who work in, who study in central universities, state universities, or private institutions. Our respondents come from different places like small towns, villages, mofusils, or smaller cities. Some of our respondents have come back a few decades back, and some not more than a year. All our respondents had basic minimum education, that is higher secondary. So the focus of our study was to see how gender itself is experienced on different axes of marginality, like caste, class, religion, and therefore the gender constraints that these women experience are quite divergent. In this presentation, we want to focus on the kind of uncertainty, instability that migrant women go through after coming to the city. The focus of our presentation will be, first we'll talk about the kind of desires or anxieties which make them travel to the city, that brings them to the city. Next, we will briefly talk about their experiences that they have after they have come to the city. And through this, we'll try to figure out how coming to the city, that is migrating to the city, living on their own, how that sort of impacts their lives in terms of making decisions and choices in their lives. So yeah, the first section is coming to the city. What brings them to the city? In this section, we will briefly go through go over the hopes and aspirations and the kind of anxieties that push them into coming to the city. We'll also briefly talk about the kind of challenges that they faced while making this transition.
So when we talk about the reasons why women have come to the city, one important factor what we found was that they mainly came from rural and mofussil places, and there they didn't have sufficient opportunities for employment and education, and that's why they had to shift to the city. And there were difficult working conditions at home, economic conditions at home. Like many of our respondents' families were into farming or daily wage and all that. So to have a better life, and they were like, since as Madhurima said, that we were looking at women who are educated at least till 12. So to have a better life, since they have done their schooling and all, they came to the city because there was nothing back home to give them employment. So then we also saw that there were a lot of women from coming from states which have political disturbance, like the northeastern or the Jammu and Kashmir. So these women didn't have sufficient, like a PhD which will get over here in 3 years. There it took 6 or 7 years. So they decided to come here to have a better education and also job. So basically, due to the skewed development model, the cities become the land of opportunities and dreams. So there are a lot of women who talked about Hyderabad is the passion, like especially women from Telangana and Andhra. For them, Hyderabad was the city to come to, was the place to come to. It was a passion, a land of opportunities and dreams. Then there was another set of women who talked about different factors. Like some women talked about that they want to come to any city to gain more autonomy, to have their own identity. Since they've always lived with their parents and family, extended family and the community. Like one woman said, I've always been a good daughter and a good sister, but who am I really? What do I actually represent? So she wanted to explore her own identity, and that's why she wanted to come to the city. Apni pehchan ke liye, she said. Then, yeah, there's some women who also were tired of the excessive parental control at home, where their parents kind of guided them where to go, what to do and what not. So they believe that coming here for education or for job will give them that kind of freedom. Also, we met few women who had faced abuse at home. Like we met women who were orphans and their extended family didn't look after them well. Then there were women who were not treated well by their own parents. Like one woman said that her parents want her brother to get education and therefore she has to fend for herself. Like after 12, no, nothing doing, we are not going to support you. So she did odd jobs and kind of came to the city to support herself. Yeah, and also it's surveillance not just from the family per se, but also the larger community where they are staying. And coming to the city gave them the anonymity. And yeah, and so therefore, like for example, even like one woman said that marrying outside her own community is not allowed, and people risk getting excommunicated. So once she came here, she found it much easier to date men of other communities. We also found a few women who talked about their failed relationship, where they said that since they didn't have a good relationship, it's a romantic relationship, and they wanted to escape that person, they wanted to come to some other place where they can have a new life together. So, yeah.
So in many ways, they came to the city because there were things that pushed them into coming, because they faced some sort of anxieties back at home, or there were other desires which motivated them to come to the city. However, all of this whole journey of coming to the city sort of rested on the fact that how they negotiated with the family. There were so many who faced a lot of resistance in making that journey. And often like through our interviews, often it was said to us that most often the way they were stopped from coming to the city was through the narrative of love, care and securitization. Like, we love you so much that you can't go to a different place, we can't have you go somewhere else and stay. So what we found is the kind of resistance that these people face back at home sort of cuts across various caste and all and other things, other structures. But one thing that largely determined one's position after one comes to the city was largely determined by their position. One's caste, class, region, access to education, knowledge of English, access to urban culture, norm, etc. sort of hugely impacted the kind of jobs or the kind of education that they can access after coming to the city. For example, when we interviewed nurses, a lot of them said that they have really low-paying jobs now, but they don't want to apply for high-paying jobs. They will do that after they have learned English, because they don't feel confident enough to do it. One person also said that she comes from a small place, so coming to a new city, coming from a place of less exposure, and then coming to the city sort of gave her an identity crisis, because the culture around was something that she couldn't identify with. So these are the kind of negotiations that they do to come to the city. In the next section, we'll talk about their experiences of having lived in the city, what kind of experiences that they have after coming here. So in this category, we talk about three sections largely. One is the institutions that they interact, namely the educational or work institution. Next is the residential spaces that they access. And the third is the interaction with the public spaces that they have.
So I'll start with the workspaces that women have an interaction with. So women, like, one of the first things is getting into something, either a education, professional degree, or even workspace. There were some jobs which are considered more apt for women, and some more apt for men where women cannot enter. So, like for example, the caring work, that is being a nurse or a teacher, is kind of taken as a natural extensions of women's caregiving ability. Then once you get into the work, there's a kind of glass ceiling of how far you can go. Like some of the women we interviewed, they talked about how, like, to get a better job or to get a better promotion, you have to do a lot of other things, like you have to first do a kind of networking, which often happens after office hours where women are not that free to go out. Also, like changing organization, that's how you rise in your career, right? So changing organizations for the corporate women and for the women in the media also, they said that it's quite difficult because once they settle in one place, their house and work place is kind of fixed, like they are got accustomed to it. Now changing that whole routine, the transport, that everything, it becomes very difficult for them. And there are studies which also show that women, especially in even in the IT sector, like women once who have stayed for more than say 5 years in a particular company, they are not prone to move out. So then within the workplace you have a lot of other issues, like sometimes just the curiosity of how a single woman is coming and staying, like a migrant woman is staying, what do you do after office hours, where do you go, how do you manage and all this kind of thing. So women is constantly asked those kind of questions. And then also in our interviews we also got women who said that they have faced sexual harassment at their workplace. So there's a whole range from curiosity to harassment. There's another category we found interesting was that there's a section of women, especially the nurses that we talked about, and we interviewed women in around 3 hospitals. So they talked about the kind of patronizing and attitude of the employees. So what they found was, like these women again, the nurses especially come from most of them are Dalit or OBC background. And these women come from poor background, they do not have enough social support in the city. So for anything, for any monetary thing, they can ask for advance or any other thing, the only place where they can talk to is the management of these hospitals. So this kind of, these women are one vulnerable in the city, and the kind of employers kind of take care of them. So also this is kind of, the employers here take care of, they kind of take over the parental role of this women. Then also some of the women, since as Madhurima said that we have interviewed women who have kind of been here for 1 year till like few decades also. So some of the women in the process of settling down have gotten married. And these women, when we talk to, they talk about their gender division of housework. Like whatever work they do, the primary responsibility of taking care of the house lies with the women. So there are men who did say that they do help in, but that's always helping, but the primary responsibility is with the women. Like one of the women said that my husband helps me, but mentally. So that kind of thing. Then if we talk about educational institutes, here there's more of a educational institutes, especially the central universities, we found that there's a space to talk about, to learn and unlearn a lot of things. There's a space to talk about caste, about your identity, about sexuality, and a lot of other things. But at the same time, these institutions also take up the kind of guardianship role of the family, and they have severe restrictions of where to go, where not to go, and what time you should be back in the hostel. But again, the guardianship role is not seen in terms of providing better facilities. The guardianship role is only limited to surveillance. Then coming to residential spaces. In the residential spaces, as I said, that a lot of women did want to get out from the parental surveillance and then they came to the city. But what we also found that they are out of the parental surveillance, but then there are house owners, there are hostel wardens, and even the neighbors do look at like what time you are coming in, with whom you are coming, and that kind of thing. There are a lot of private hostels which have come up in the city because of the certain requirement over here, because of demand. But then these hostels also depends on whom they are catering to. A lot of the advertisement they talk about your daughter will get a safe and sound place to live. So whom are they addressing, to the women or to the parents? And then interestingly, like 1 or 2 respondents also said that they did have problems in getting a house, and because they are single and all that. But then if you pay excess money, then a lot of those things can be taken care of. And there's a constant threat of, you have to constantly prove that you are a good woman. Oh, is that legit? Oh. So there's a constant threat, like you have to be a good woman, you have to prove yourself to be a good woman, and then you can then I'll leave to Madhurima to go to the public space.
So yeah, talking about public space and their interaction with public space, for some, coming out in the city and having to interact with the public space on their own was very exhilarating, gave them a sense of freedom. For some it was also very unnerving because this was something that they were doing for the first time. Because some of them actually said that staying at home they never really got to go out and interact with the city or the town or the public spaces that they were living in. The other thing was, talking about public space, here we realize that the kind of position that you come from really matters in terms of how you look at safe and unsafe space. What might look as very unsafe to somebody at 6 p.m. in the evening might not look unsafe to another woman who has access to, say, cab services. The other thing that we found out when we talked about the kind of public spaces that they access to or what they do for their free time, a lot of them talked about shopping malls, shopping spaces, as if, so in there was a sense that these are the spaces which sort of are more acceptable to, access to in so many ways. So there was this sense that as long as you are a consumer or as long as you stick to the norms of, keeping your time, going to certain places, you are allowed. This access to public space that women have are really conditional. Like once you cross the, boundaries, no longer safe that way. So, and hence you see that every time there is a case of sexual harassment or something, the first question that they ask is, so what were you wearing? What were you doing there? What time was it? And so on. Having said all this, I would like to peg that at the end of the day, women living independently in the city sort of precariously rests on the question of marriage. In so many ways, like a lot of people said that they were allowed to make choices in their career, but when it came to marriage, they really don't have as much of a say or as much of a choice that they have when it comes to their career. Few also talked about that one of the major reasons that they shifted to a city or tried to gain better education or employment was to postpone marriage in so many ways. Some also added that not everybody said the same thing. Some also said that having a better career or coming to the city or gaining access to these facilities will then give them a better choice in marriage or will somehow give them more negotiating power when it comes to marriage. So the question really remains is whether coming to the city helps women to achieve more control in terms of their lives. And we really don't have a simple answer to that. The answer is yes and as well as no. As a global city, it provides avenues for women to come to these cities. It sort of breaks the traditional narrative of coming from your father's guardianship to the guardianship of your husband. But then again, at the same time, this whole neoliberal situation has given rise to different kinds of anxieties and uncertainties. So at this juncture, we would like to end the presentation with this thought that we really need to think about what kind of cities we envision, which then allows women to make more choices, and what are the kind of lives that we really envision for women, ourselves, and for women. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
So I just wanted to say that it's a very, very beautiful narration that you talked about. And I think in the morning we were talking about this transgression, etc. We were talking about a group of women who are in some ways transgressing and also crossing over their space from the urban. And that journey of the urban, how it is filled with both opportunities as well as threats in some ways, makes them vulnerable in some ways as well as frees them in some ways, right? So I think that complexity that you're bringing out is very interesting to me. Okay? But what I would like to play on is, what do you think the woman imagine the city to be? when you say the kind of city that you want, or these women want, is a city which can give them better opportunities or whatever, what is that city? What is the form of that city? What is the nature of that city? Just a couple of reflections.
So I think it's very in some ways I find it really difficult to answer to that question because there is no homogeneous category of women. Depending on what place you come from, what background, like the kind of peers you have, the kind of access to informal and formal networks of knowledge that you have, your imagination gets shaped. So for a certain kind of woman, coming to the city meant getting independence, pehchan. Again, for some, they narrativize their journey to the city as something that they are doing for their family. So I think there is no one answer to that question because there is a range of ways that women envision like, there's no one city also in their imagination. There are multiple cities in their imagination.
I just wish